What is going on, basketball fans? Man, oh man, are we excited to start this brand new show here at Stadium Rant called The Putback. So, if you are needing anything NBA related or basketball related, we are the place for you. My name is Nolan Brooks. Tonight I'm joined by my friends Dravin and Dovensky and Jack. Jack, all the way from New Zealand. So, shout out to him for matching up with the time zones here. But we're very excited to get this show rolling for you guys. Lots of basketball to talk through. But first and foremost, we want to remind y'all that our audio department here at Stadium Rant is dedicated to giving every team and sport the coverage they so deserve. So make sure you go check out stadiumrant.com for more of our written content as well. And check out our Spotify and YouTube channel for our original shows and our team-centric podcast that we got going on. So much happening here at Stadium Rant. So much basketball to talk about. Well, gentlemen, first and foremost, how are we feeling about being here on the show? This is episode number 1, numero uno, the premiere. We have to set the stage. How are we feeling tonight?
Awesome, very excited.
It's exciting. It's exactly what we've been setting up this behind the scenes for months now. So it's just so exciting to see it finally come together. And I can't wait to tell you, each and every single one of you, that you guys are all wrong. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great time.
There we go. Well, let's not waste any more time, shall we, gentlemen? Well, no, Dovensky, I got to hear from you, man. How are you feeling? You're talking about a white-hot D-Wade jersey. There we go.
It's tough.
There we go. And Dovensky, I don't know if we can hear you. Just you're a little quiet for us. But let's get started here. So how we'll do this, gentlemen, is we'll do an around-the-table type style. So I'll kind of start. I'll introduce our topic, and I'll give you my 2 cents on what we're doing here. And then we'll go around the table, and you'll give me your opinion on it. And we'll do it that way. After each person goes, hey, if you got something to say, if you think, that's absolute crap what you just said about that opinion, hey, we'll roll with it. That's what we're here for. So let's start it off. We're going to start some NBA draft recap. So, it's been a couple weeks now since that happened. So that's kind of the oldest news that has happened in the basketball world so far. And, it definitely was a interesting draft nonetheless. There was not necessarily a ton of hype around it. This wasn't a draft class that everybody was, jumping out of their seats and excited to, see make that jump up into the league. And, honestly, the big point that I pulled away from it was France has something brewing in the water out there. They have incredible talent. We knew Victor Wembanyama was going to be the next unicorn, but they continue to produce talent. They had 3 guys go in the top 10, I believe. So, what more can you ask for out of them? So, I want to start with this question for you, gentlemen, and Dravin, I'll go to you first. Who drafted the best out of this NBA draft class? It's not like the NFL where you have, 6 rounds, 7 rounds to kind of work with, but who do you think drafted the best out of this class?
I think, and this is not a team that I heard a lot of people necessarily talk about having an elite draft. I thought the Timberwolves had an incredible overall draft. Now, especially because the most obvious one is trading for Rob Dillingham at the 8. You traded up and you gave up a 7th grader and an 8th grader for him. Like, that is an absolute steal to get Rob Dillingham, who I'm sure as everyone who's watching this knows, the safest pick in an NBA draft is a guard out of Kentucky. Tyrese Maxey, oh my God, I'm blanking on all of them. There's Devin Booker, John Wall, there's so many that you can just name. Every single one who comes into the league is a hit. And then they followed up with getting Terrence Shannon Jr. later on in the draft. And Terrence Shannon Jr. only fell that far because of some very unfortunate false accusations against him during his time, if I'm not mistaken, it was Illinois. If he didn't have that, he would have been a likely lottery pick or close to it. Sixers suck, JC. Anyway, he would have been a lottery pick. And I thought getting him at 28 or so was an absolute steal. It sets them up for a lineup for years of Gillingham, Edwards, Shannon. If Gobert is still that good, Gobert, and then Cat, if they retain him, that is a scary lineup. And I thought they absolutely hit it out the park. You're muted, Nolan. Nolan, you're muted.
Let's unmute the mic. Let's not be unprofessional here. Let's actually do the show the way it's meant to be. Well, I think Dillingham's move was one of the more surprising for sure, just because Minnesota has a veteran guard in Mike Conley already there to kind of lead the ship. You know, he missed a few games in the playoffs, and it was obvious that his production was not there on the floor. Now, granted, they ended up going on to beat Denver in 7 games and make the Western Conference Finals, so it all worked out in the end. But nonetheless, yeah, Dillingham steps into a pretty good situation there in Minnesota. Learn a bit from Mike Conley and even Anthony Edwards at a 2-guard position if he wanted to. And I think he's set up. Well, Jack, how about you? Who do you think won this draft? I mean, there's a lot of teams that I think got some steals, but who do you think won it overall?
Yeah, as Dravin said, Minnesota did a great job. Obviously, a team like the Wizards, drafted Alex Sarr, a guy who was projected to go first in a lot of the mocks. And they got Bob Carrington at 14, I believe it was. So they've got a couple of nice young pieces there. Even the Lakers, Dalton Connect at 17. Obviously, they took Bronny as well, which is a controversial pick to say the least. But no, he's the Lakers in general. Yeah, did a good job. And even the Bulls, Martaz Bezelis at I think it was 10 or 11. Love that pick for them. He's going to be great in this league. I think he's got all those qualities, the playmaking. So yeah, I'd say Washington would probably be my biggest winners, just particularly in the draft. But yeah, Minnesota, Lakers, even Portland as well. Donovan Clingan was a nice pick for them. Obviously, they've got a lot of centers now, but I'm sure that's something they'll figure out over the next few months or so.
It's fine. DeAndre Ayton's too busy doing random cameos on American Dad to actually be a true number 1 center in the NBA. But Clingan was such a home run pick for them. I wanted the Knicks to trade up for him because I said give up the future. Like basically before we traded for Macau, I said give up the future for Clingan, a perfect defensive base center who could still catch lobs and be an overall threat. I thought that was an absolute steal for Portland.
No, yeah, for sure. This was definitely a good draft for quite a few teams that they didn't necessarily just hit home runs. You didn't see a Zion Williamson. You didn't see anything like that. There was no Paolo Bancheros that everyone was like, all right, we know who's going number 1 overall, and it's just a matter of time before the commissioner reads his name off. And so, honestly, it's really tough to be like, yeah, this team is absolute grand slam home run, because I don't think there is one of those. I don't think there's one where you can just point to and say you drafted way better than everybody else. But I'm curious to hear what Dovensky has to say, our resident Miami Heat fan, because I know he was excited for draft night. But who do you think won this draft?
In my opinion, you guys can hear me, right?
Yep, we got you now.
All right. In my opinion, I mean, it's still biased, but I got the Heat. Definitely. Getting Khalil Ware at 15th overall pick, and he's a relative 16-10 guy, 2 blocks per game in college. And like the biggest thing that I've been talking about for the Heat, besides getting a secondary star, was getting a center. So now I don't know how the rotation will be, but in my opinion, I think you could have Khalil start, or maybe see how he is. For now, have him come off the bench while Bam is still playing center. And then, like, if he has a bit of like a Jaime Hawkins Jr. type of rookie year, then like midseason you could slide him to the center and then you could put Bam at power forward, because I think Bam at power forward will be way, way, way better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, They were talking about that for the Olympic roster, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, about how Bam just kind of fits multiple roles. And so finding that kind of, guy to be next to him or, follow him up in that second group is something that Miami really was looking for. And I agree with you. I mean, Khalil Ware was just sitting there waiting, and Miami benefits from the beauty of that. So, yeah, lots of teams that I think made some solid moves, but there were also some teams that made some steals, that made some moves that you weren't necessarily expecting to happen. Rob Dillingham being one of the bigger ones. But Dravin, what's another team that you think just made an absolute insane steal in this draft? You're like, wow, you had somebody fall to you that probably shouldn't have been there. I think I know where everybody's answer might be, but let's see.
The most obvious answer is going to be Dalton Connect. I don't think anyone's really going to debate that because Connect is such an elite scorer. He was such an elite scorer that it was like the Popeyes Black History Month Player the Month award in February as a white guy playing for Tennessee. It was crazy. But he's such an elite 3-level scorer. But to me, the two big ones, and one much more clear than the other, is I thought the Jazz got an absolute steal in Kyle Filipowski. I thought Flip would go day one, and I personally wanted the Knicks to grab him. I wanted the Knicks to get a lot of centers. But when he fell to 32, I was shocked. And then all that crap came out about his girlfriend and everything. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but that being the reason he fell. And Filipowski is so talented, and Duke big men don't actually have the best track record as of late. Just Jahlil Okafor came to my mind, Marvin Bagley, those kind of guys. But Filipowski has the kind of talent and everything to not necessarily be a superstar, but still be a very solid role player in the NBA. And I think if you're drafting in the second round, you're looking for solid role players who can help you compete. You're not looking for Nikola Jokic. That's a needle in a haystack. You're not going to find that. But I thought Filipowski was an absolute steal for Utah at 32.
Yeah, for sure. Jack, how about you? I mean, you say you're a Kings fan. I mean, but we're talking about absolute steals. The Kings had a steal, and then they traded him away. So, is there anybody else that you think might have had a big steal in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, Dravin's already touched on it, but Terrence Shannon Jr. at 27 is an awesome pick. Obviously, there's reasons he fell that low, but defensively, having a guy like that in the backcourt, it's going to be sick for them. And the Jazz again, they did draft Flip. They got Cody Williams at 10. Not so much a steal because that's probably where he was projected, but I don't like that pick. And they also got Isaiah Collier at 29. So they're stacking up on young talent over in Utah, as a lot of the rebuilding teams are. But yeah, Isaiah Collier especially and Terrence Shannon Jr. would be my picks for that late first round steals.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dovensky, how about you? Was there anybody? I mean, I'm reading some of these comments that we're getting here. I mean, Bronny James at 55 being a steal. I don't know if that's a steal necessarily. I mean, time will tell. But Dovensky, what about you?
I think Zach Edey going 9 was a huge shocker to me. In my opinion, I think he was probably the best player in this draft class. And I thought he's gone maybe top 3.
I'm sorry, what?
Ooh.
25 and 12 is not something to laugh at. With 2 blocks per game?
It's not, but he's nowhere. He has no ceiling near Alex Sarr.
Okay, but that's ceiling. I'm not talking about.
I think what he's saying,
because you see how many guys have huge potential and they don't live up to that potential. I'm talking about right now, how they're looking right now. Zach Edey could have even definitely been top 3. Maybe he could have gone number 1, but top 3, I'm shocked that he fell all the way down to 9. And having him and then Jaren Jackson Jr. playing at power forward instead of center, because Jaren Jackson Jr. is a bit undersized for a center, and Zach Edey's 7'4", I could see them definitely being a Twin Towers type of thing, being able to lock down the paint, sort of like what the Timberwolves are doing, but with Jaren Jackson Jr., he's a much better defender. He can actually guard the perimeter. Minnesota, they definitely could make some noise in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. And, I see your point there with Edie. I mean, I think a lot of people around tournament time, around March, were like, okay, I mean, this guy's probably going very high up in the draft. I mean, honestly, there was not a whole lot that you're hearing about anybody else, at least in the United States, that you're like, yeah, for sure, somebody's going above him. I mean, Dalton Connect, yeah, those are names that were thrown around, but you know, the more I think about it, yeah, I mean, the Grizzlies getting basically a day one center. Steven Adams, they don't know when he's going to be fully healthy again, when he's going to be coming back from his injury. You get a day one center, and then, like you said, you can move Jaren Jackson down to the 4, and you have a ton of size on that team, especially with Desmond Bane at the 2. I mean, you're really sitting pretty. And, I mean, the Grizzlies, sure, I think they definitely made a big one. I would say my big one, and, I mean, this might come as a shock, I think Reed Shepherd going at 3 was way, way earlier than I had him on, at least on my mock boards. I know Houston was definitely looking for a shooter, and they were trying to get a guy who is a perimeter threat all around. That is what they need, is a guard that's got ball handling skills, but can also catch and shoot and also create at the rim. And that's exactly what Reed Shepherd brings. I just didn't think it would be Reed Shepherd that they would look at for that role. But, no disrespect to him. The dude's a baller. I mean, if you go look at what he did at Kentucky he's a true freshman, right? Coming out of Kentucky. So, I mean, what more can you ask for out of a true freshman than to go out there and be one of your most efficient scorers? I mean, they're talking about how he's shooting 50% from the field and 40 from three-point line. That translates into the NBA rather quickly. If you're in the right situation, maybe Houston is that. He's going to get some playing time. They've got a lot of young pieces. That was kind of my big steal one where I didn't expect it. All right. So to close out our NBA draft recap, let's do the bad side of things. Let's flip it to the other side. Who flopped in this draft? Who do you think probably should have been a little bit more aggressive? Maybe move up in the draft, trade up for draft capital, or move up and make a home run pick. Who flopped? Dravin, kick it off for me to close out this section.
I mean, it's unfortunate that Alex Sarr did not want to go to Atlanta because it's Atlanta. Zachary Risache is a good prospect. He's not a number 1 pick. I don't think he'd be even top 5 last year. And the fact that he was the number 1 pick, when I thought the most talented player with the highest ceiling is Alex Sarr. In a league now where it's dominated by 7'2" guys who have 7'10" wingspans and can handle the ball, and you have a chance to get one of them, it really sucks that you pissed off Alex Sarr to the point where he did not want to go to Atlanta, and instead he chose Washington. Nobody chooses Washington. That's the entire joke. That nobody likes Washington. It's insane to me how bad they screwed that up. I also think Charlotte screwed it up bad. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of the 6th overall pick in my life before the draft. Look, maybe that's just me. Never heard of him. No coverage. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a great thing I haven't heard of him. Maybe nobody's in his head. Maybe he's just doing his own thing. I'm pretty sure he's French or he's Turkish. I'm not sure. I think he might have been Turkish. But, what? You pass on Klingon to pair with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and you could have had Klingon. That would have given you an insane, really good young core of 3 guys. A ball-handling point guard who could score and pass the ball, an elite shooting small forward who could score the ball at will, and then an elite lob-catching defensive threat. And you chose Szechuan sauce? I don't know his name. Nobody's heard of this guy. Michael Jordan might still be lingering in the halls of Charlotte because they still suck at everything. I mean, oh my gosh. Sorry, I hate Charlotte. Charlotte can't do anything.
No, all good. All good. We can tell who you're really, really mad at. And this is Stadium Rant CEO, the boss man, Tyler Lamb. He's saying Baylor to the Celtics was a big move. That was his surprise pick. So, yeah, I mean, hey, I could see it. I could see it.
I loved him out of Creighton. I thought that was a great pick.
Yeah, for sure. I could see it. Jack, how about you? Who flopped in this draft? Who fell on their face?
Look, obviously, all these guys haven't even played a minute in the NBA yet, so it's hard to say like who was a good pick, who was a bad pick. Obviously, Atlanta was kind of surprised that they took Ricochet, but he could turn out to be phenomenal. So you can't really say they flopped. I would say Houston. The only reason is because Reed Shepherd, as good of a player as he looks to be, but they have a logjam of guards in Houston. So his playing time, it's going to be mixed in with Thompson, Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, and they've got other younger guys, Aaron Holiday as well. So they've got some things to figure out. Ime Udoka and them. But the other one is probably the Spurs. I do like Stephon Castle at 4, but trading that number 8 pick when you really didn't need to do that. When you've got Wemby, you need to get young players now, not in 2031, which is that draft pick you traded him for. So again, it's not easy to say which rookies will be great before they've even played, but yeah.
An optimist, I see.
Yeah.
They keep the hope alive before they even touch the floor type deal. I love it. I mean, hey, you got to with some of these guys because they're not. Some of them aren't even playing in summer league because they want to try to preserve themselves for the real show. So yeah, I get it. Well, Dovensky, close it out for us here in this segment. Who did you think flopped in the 2024 NBA draft?
Honestly, I'm gonna agree with Dravin because the Hornets, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what the Hornets are doing. They're I don't even want to say they're in no man's land. They're in a worse position than no man's land because they have a history of not getting good draft picks besides like maybe like Kemba Walker, and that's really it. Just like Kemba Walker was like their best draft pick. Passing up on a great elite defender and a lob catching center. Literally, that fits well with LaMelo because LaMelo, we've seen the dynamic between LaMelo and Miles Bridges. Now imagine you could have had a nice little pick and roll between them, and instead you take a forward when you got the forward position already filled out with Miles Bridges, and you got Brendan Miller who can also play forward. I think the Hornets definitely got like the worst of the drafts.
All right.
I
Well,
do want to ask, wait, was Chris Paul a Hornets pick? Or
Well, New Orleans Hornets.
did they become the Pelicans?
Their history is confusing because Charlotte moved to New Orleans, and then when they went back to the Pelicans history when they were the Hornets is part of the Pelicans history. So when they were the New Orleans Hornets, it counts as Pelicans history, even though they literally moved from Charlotte to New Orleans.
So, yeah, what was Chris Paul?
you know Chris Paul. Chris Paul
no,
technically not on their book.
Technically, Chris Paul would be like all-time New Orleans Pelicans. Not
Okay,
all-time
that's what I
Orleans,
thought.
Not
Like,
all-time on Charlotte Hornets.
Then yeah, it's probably just cardiac Kemba.
Yeah, it's just Kemba. That's it.
Well, LaMelo Ball. I'd say LaMelo Ball is probably one of their better picks in a while
Yeah,
too.
that's true. But
this guy's ankles are made of glass and
his
don't hold together. But
his health is just terrible.
It's because again, his dad ran them into the ground at 11.
That's true.
Literally just had them running
with
8 miles a day since they were 12 years old. Same reason Lonzo's took.
With a lot of young players these days.
Like,
guys from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, they were able to play like a good 82 games, a good 70 games, and now these days, you'll be lucky if a young guy can play like 60 games because they're playing all these AAU games at like 15 years old every Saturday, like 5 games a day. So yeah, eventually by the time they get to the league, their health is just gonna be decreasing. But realistically, those are like the prime years of your life, but yet you got glass knees because you've been playing basketball like all day since you were like probably 9 years old.
Yep, for sure. Lots of wear and tear on these guys. Lots of decisions that went down in the NBA draft. So good way to start out the show, gentlemen. The NBA draft in the books. Summer League has started up. And there's a lot of guys that are actively playing right now. We've seen the likes of Bronny scoring 4 points and ESPN SportsCenter losing their minds over 4 points and it being 2 layups. So we've seen things like that. But there have been other offseason moves that have happened. As of today, actually, the man that Dravin is wearing on his jersey signed a different deal. He dropped down his original pay, and he signed for about $100 million less than he originally was scheduled for or was eligible for, to open up room for roster spots or for roster moves if they so choose. So that was one of the big ones that happened today, but there have been other moves. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think or what are some of the biggest moves that have happened so far in the NBA offseason, whether that's for your respected team that you root for, or if you think that one team maybe stands out above the rest as far as what they've done so far. So Dravin, kick it off for us here.
I mean, completely uncorrelated and completely unbiasedly, I think the number one thing any team needs is team chemistry, right? These guys need to know what each other's thinking. And it just so happens that my favorite team, the New York Knicks, wrong side, Taylor Swift, my favorite team, the New York Knicks, have built an entire starting five or starting four. I'm just waiting for Villanova legend Chris Jenkins to sign with the practice squad. Once Chris Jenkins signs, then it's really over for everyone.
Big deal.
But Mikal Bridges, and while I initially I stared at my phone and I said, "Wow, that was expensive." But and we just talked about the importance of it. There is one thing Mikal Bridges does that not a single other player in the NBA can do. It's the fact that in an 82-game season, Mikal Bridges just played 83 games. He played an extra game. He doesn't miss time. He doesn't miss games. Now, this might change because Tom Thibodeau is an excellent coach and will definitely want to be smart with how he uses his players and not run them into the ground. But give it time. And I think the reason the Knicks lost to the Pacers, I don't think anyone would really agree, is simply because of injuries. I think if that team is healthy, I think they take the Celtics to 6 in the ECF. I don't think we beat the Celtics. I think I'd be crazy to say they'd beat the Celtics. But I think we can take them to 6. I mean, we slapped them by 40 before the playoffs, like just before then. If you're telling me if we were fully healthy, we couldn't win 2 games at MSG, I think we absolutely could have. I mean, New York would have been going insane, but I think Mikal Bridges was definitely an underrated pickup. And while it was expensive, because that definitely levels the scales in terms of how good of a pick it was, due to his just Iron Man ability and what he brings to his team in terms of chemistry with DiVincenzo, Hart, and Brunson, I think that makes it worth it. Also, bless up Brunson. Thank you for allowing us to sign more people. I love you.
Well, the CEO would disagree with you. In case the other two of you don't know, he is a massive Celtics fan. He's a Boston guy, so I mean,
y'all got an easy win. All right, that's it. It's
Fact. Going on third base.
Celtics and
Tough.
Whoa, I think we're forgetting about Randall. Randall didn't
like 5.
If you include Randall, DiVincenzo, Hart, Anunoby, Brunson, Hartenstein, Robinson.
I don't want to include Randall because I feel like Randall, he's gonna slow the pace down. And he's
we were 22-3 with Anunoby, Randall, and Brunson on the court.
He's a playoff choker though.
I don't see the relevance. Still, I think we would have a better chance of beating the Celtics than any other team in the Eastern Conference. I don't think
definitely. Except for a healthy Miami Heat, because definitely Jason Tatum will wet the bed if he sees a healthy Miami Heat.
Didn't you guys get sent home in 4 with that?
I said a healthy Miami Heat.
But it's healthy for you guys. But it's okay for you to have all your stars.
A healthy. I never said. Hey, I said a healthy Knicks could beat the Celtics. I said a healthy Knicks could beat the Celtics. That's what I said.
Hey,
I don't think he definitely beat the Celtics in 6.
Yeah. Well, clearly the Heat and Knicks fan are not going to agree on who would win in a series between those two, even though the CEO once again
Exactly. He's
Pipe
not
it in.
scoring on OG. He's not scoring on OG. He's going to
Oh.
get
Wait till the
camped.
playoffs. Wait till the playoffs.
This is still Jimmy Butler we're
Look,
talking about.
Boston, y'all was a 3-point shot away from not making the finals in 2022. Y'all got lucky Jimmy missed. What happened in 2023? Y'all wet the bed. This year, injuries.
They also picked up 2
That's all I gotta
All-Stars in between last year and this year.
That's all I gotta say. But we run it back. So we basically run the whole
You guys are
same
going to get
team
sent
back.
home in 5 games.
Yeah, injured Heat team. An injured Heat team.
No, you guys are still going to get sent home in 5 games this coming
know,
year.
but
when you finish
hey,
the game, 'cause
You
guys
know
are
what?
going
You
to
know
the
the only thing that matters here, and Tyler will continue to chirp on this. They got the chip. The Heat and the Knicks did not, and that's just how it's going to be. Only time will tell.
An easy
know,
chip though.
We'll
An easy
get
chip.
to it next year. We'll see. I mean,
No
hey,
easy
Heat
chip.
and Knicks are going to be fired up to have that rematch, and I mean everybody's going to be going after the Celtics. That's just how it is. But let's keep it rolling here, fellas. Jack, who do you think has made one of the biggest moves, or what's one of your favorite moves that you have seen so far in this NBA offseason?
Yeah, not so much big moves. One of the first moves of the offseason, OKC trading for Alex Caruso. Gave up Josh Giddey, who was down there out of the rotation in the playoffs anyway, playing like 11 minutes a game off the bench. AC, any Bulls fan will tell you he is a dog. Obviously, defensively, he's there. His three-point shooting was awesome last year. I think he was up 40%. So he's going to be a sick addition to their starting lineup. He'd be perfect to play with Shea. Doesn't need the ball in his hands a lot, as Josh Giddey obviously does, because he can't shoot at all. But him and Isaiah Hartenstein too, that they picked up, big contract, massive contract. It was like $30 million a year for a backup. It's crazy. He might start with Chip. I don't know. Yeah, I would imagine they go Shea, AC, and then they got J-Dub and Chit. So maybe they put J-Dub at the 3. But
They also still have Dort, so I think they're going to.
I think they're gonna have Dort at the 4. And then
I'd say they probably have Dort at the 3.
at the 4. Yeah, Dort at the 3, J-Dub at the 4, and then Chet at the 5. Because in my opinion, I think Hartenstein works best coming off the bench as like a spark plug.
Hartenstein was elite though when he had to start for the Knicks this year.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
when he was like starting in that postseason, he showed up. I think he could start fine. And I think having that elite rim protection, like you would be a massive team, but it's a massive team that can still shoot. Like Dort can still shoot, Williams can still shoot, Shea obviously is elite at shooting. Holmgren can shoot. Hartenstein, he's not the guy you don't want him to take 5 3-pointers a game, but if it's needed, he can knock them down.
But the thing is, the OKC can literally hide that weakness because OKC has a bunch of shooters. So while he may be struggling from 3 for now, he may get a bit of a rhythm during the season. But even then, OKC just has so many shooters that they're gonna hide it. So they'll definitely be fine.
And I'm sure Mark will figure that out. He's an awesome coach as well, so he'll probably mix and match it, as the season goes on, depending on who. Obviously, the Knicks had a great offseason, as we've said, but also the Nets. As he said, that was a big return for Bridges. 5 first-round picks. They got like a total of 9 first-round picks for KD now. So Sean Marks, awesome job on that. That's a great way to start a rebuild. And then I also had Philly, obviously got the big name in Paul George.
Oh, right.
That's an awesome big 3, regardless of if you're a Philly fan, as most people aren't. Fair enough, but that's going to be an awesome team to watch at the least. I had another one. The Celtics retained their guys. Jason Tatum's on the biggest contract in NBA history. That's all you can ask for. After you just won a championship, is to bring your guys back. Derek White's back on that 4-year deal. They got even like Xavier Tillman's coming back. So obviously he's not a big part of that team, but those teams in particular stood out for me.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely some almost like they're building a retaining wall. They're trying to maintain everything and keep everything right where it is. And Here's the only thing that Dovensky, Dravin, and Tyler are gonna agree on here. That and I don't think JC would like this one very much. He's a big Sixers guy, big Philly guy, but Philly sucking forever. Even though they get Paul George, yeah, that was definitely a big move. Dovensky, how about you? I mean, is there a big move that you've seen so far that you would say has kind of stood out from the others?
In my opinion, even though I don't like the Knicks that much, I do think they made the best moves so far because you got the team chemistry. Your best player literally took a pay cut, a massive, massive pay cut to sign more guys to try and win a championship. And we already know that the Knicks already have like a great like what's it called? They have a great payroll, basically. So they have the money, they have salary cap, so they can still sign some more guys to try and get that championship. Philly, I don't see them doing much, but I don't want to say they're not gonna succeed, but I don't see them doing much because Embiid is injury prone, playoff choker. Paul George injury prone, playoff choker. Maxi, we've seen what he can do. So honestly, you might want to shift it more to Maxi. OKC is definitely going to be a threat in the Western Conference for years to come. I don't want to talk about the Bulls yet. I'm not a Bulls fan, but the Bulls did terrible so far. The Heat not getting anybody is rubbing me the wrong way still, but I'm having I'm trying to have faith. One more, in my opinion, one more year. This is Miami's last chance. If not, I say just blow it up for a rebuild. But so far, I think the Knicks definitely got the best offseason so far.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that in many ways just because you kind of see them solidify their team a bit more. And, you might say, oh, well, how does Mikal Bridges truly solidify what they already had? No, he brings a very strong defensive presence to the team. Not to mention his offense is kind of underrated, flies under the radar, just because that's not really what he's been known for or had to do necessarily in Brooklyn. If you think about who has come through Brooklyn in the time that he was there, your Kyrie Irvings, your James Hardens, your Kevin Durant's. You don't have to necessarily be that guy on offense, but he did do it. And that was enough for New York. Dravin's got his hand up. I think I've struck a nerve. Close it out for me real quick, and then I'll give you my big move.
Bridges didn't overlap with any of them. Bridges came over in exchange for Durant.
That's right. That's right. My bad. So Bridges, you see, I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. Ignore me. Ignore me.
Hey, but
Anyway,
watch out for the Pacers. Watch out for the Pacers. They were a sleeper last season. They'll be a sleeper again. They re-signed. They re-signed Pascal. I kind of wish they got Paul George so Paul George can go back and be that third scoring option. But watch out for the Pacers because they were, even though they did piss me off in the playoffs against the Celtics because they got swept. But I think now because of that experience, they're definitely locked in this season.
yeah, and Pascal got his big time deal this
Yep.
offseason as well. So, gives him a bit more confidence that Indiana is putting some faith into him being their co-superstar alongside Halliburton. They have a good young core there in Indiana. And, man, my brain is just absolute mush forgetting that Bridges was a part of the Kevin Durant move. My God. I mean, neck myself on that one. But I would say my biggest move or my favorite move that I've seen so far happened a lot more recently, and that was the DeMar DeRozan to the Sacramento Kings move. I'm sorry, but that is a huge, huge pickup because, yeah, Jack's down there rubbing the hands together. He's excited. I mean, I did not have Sacramento as a front runner to go after DeMar DeRozan in any way. I mean, everybody and their brother thought, all right, he could go to Golden State, something like that, where he is added to a veteran team with other uh, age superstars, and he would essentially replace a Klay Thompson. And that's another move. That was a big one, Klay Thompson to Dallas. But honestly, DeRozan going to Sacramento takes their young core that they have in De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis and company, and just increases their offensive production that much more. He is a veteran scorer. I mean, he's going to end up being a top 10 all-time scorer in the NBA, and that's not by accident. And the dude is for real. And I think once him and Sacramento kind of get going, that's going to be a scary team, or one of those teams in the West that you have your eye on, but you might not necessarily think they're going to punch you, and then bam, you go out to Sacramento or you welcome them to town for a game, and they hit you and they show you we're the real deal. So that is my big move of the offseason. I love the conversations that we're having here. I mean, we're getting tons of moves being talked about. Let's shift gears now to the biggest event that is going to happen. And, sometimes or normally the basketball season kind of takes this dip in production and has this lull and things that are going on because you're like, all right, summer league's going on, but how much do you really want to talk about summer league? The Paris Olympics are happening this summer, and those begin rather soon. And we actually got our first look at the men's Olympic team the other night. They played their exhibition game against Canada, and they won by like 14 or 15 points. So they look pretty decent, lots of superstars on this team. This is probably one of the most star-studded Olympic rosters in, I would say, at least a decade. Not that the guys that have played, in the couple of years prior, the couple Olympics prior, weren't star-studded, but this has LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. I mean, you're taking all of the big names, and they're finally saying, all right, one last ride. Not all of us are going to be around in the league together for a lot longer. So let's do it now. Well, Dravin, I'll kick it off to you first, as always. Who do you think will be the biggest star on this studded roster for the USA team?
I think it depends, because on paper you look at it and the 3-point line is, I think, 3 or 4 feet closer than the NBA line is. So your first reaction is Steph Curry is going to be like a kid in a candy shop. He's going to just go crazy. But at the same time, I don't think Curry wants to. I'm pretty sure I don't think Curry was on that 2016 team. Then I don't think he was on 2020. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is his first Olympics. And I already feel like I could be wrong. Somebody can fact check me. But fact is, I just don't remember him being on that 2016 team. I could be wrong.
No, he wasn't on the 2016 team.
That's what I was thinking. But
he has never played in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, which is crazy enough in itself. But I don't think he wants to be the star. I think LeBron would like to be the star, but I don't think he's gonna be a pass first kind of guy. I think it's literally just gonna be to the one guy who wants to be the star, who wants all eyes on him, and who, let's be real, is calling himself a star when nobody else is gonna call him a star necessarily or anything like that. It's gonna be Anthony Edwards, because Anthony Edwards wants the ball. He's gonna be the guy to put up the amount of shots that they want to. KD will take a shot, but he's not gonna be as much of KD as he really should be. Because let's be real, KD is the best scorer to ever. I personally think Kevin Durant is the greatest scorer to ever live. But he's not going to be the greatest scorer to ever live in this tournament. He's an old man now. He wants to sit back. He wants to raise the next generation. I think it's going to be Anthony Edwards.
Not to mention he's sitting out with a calf injury right now, so he hasn't even played a single second. Yeah, he did those couple of days of practice, but they practiced for 3 days, and then boom, they're right into action against Canada, who I will say low-key has a good team. They have a lot of NBA talent on there. You have the collection of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Kelly Olynyk, Jamal Murray. I mean, there's some.
You're forgetting the best player in the NBA?
Huh?
You're forgetting the best player in the NBA?
Oh, who's that?
Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. I knew he was going to say Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks, who interrupts interviews for Devin Booker, and Devin Booker doesn't care.
You don't show nobody respect until you give him 40, bro.
I guess so. Well, yeah.
I don't respect LeBron, bro. Shut up. Nobody cares.
LeBron doesn't care about you, Dylan Brooks.
He really don't.
No, he really doesn't. Jack, how about you? Who do you think is going to be one of the biggest stars for this Team USA roster?
obviously they're super loaded on talent. I would be very surprised if anyone averages more than 20 points per game on that team. You know, they've got 10 guys capable of doing that if they wanted to. They've just brought in Derek White as well, which is I like that addition, just like his play style, but they do not need another guard. Is the only thing. So yeah, probably Jaylen Brown would have been my pick, but regardless of that, yeah, as far as who's going to be the star, you know, I'm sure LeBron will take all the headlines. He'll have the alley-oops, the blocks. You know, I think Anthony Davis will probably be the best player on that team. He's going to average a lot of blocks as well. Put up a double-double against Canada the other day. Yeah, I think he was the best player of that game. He should be starting, you know, but they've got Embiid there, so we'll see how that ends up. But yeah, as far as the star points per game wise, there's probably not going to be one that stands out every game. You got Book, you got Curry, you got Anthony Edwards, all those guys capable of dropping 30 if you want them to. So yeah,
For sure. Dovensky, how about you? I mean, Jack said that really, really well. I mean, it's really hard to just say, all right, this guy is going to be leaps and bounds better than the rest, because you have arguably, like I said, one of the most talented Team USA rosters that they've had. Honestly, I would argue to say since the 08 Redeem team, where they had pretty much every superstar you could think of. I mean, you had the great Kobe Bryant, never lost a Olympic game, went 31-0 in his career in the Olympics. I mean, that team was unbeatable. And so it'll be hard to match, but who do you think is the biggest star on this team?
I do think it could be Anthony Edwards, but also Jack. I agree with what he said. The fact that there's not one guy that can really take over, because honestly, anybody on that team could take over realistically. Like if he's hot, just give him the ball. But realistically, finding like that number one scoring option, that number one guy for the team, I don't think that's possible, because like it's just so star studded. And the fact that they added another guard, I just didn't like that, because my biggest issue was like for 2020 that they were small, and the fact that you only have Joel Embiid as your only true center, like, because this team has 6 guards with the addition of Derek White. That's 6 guards. I don't know how you're going to do that rotation. I don't know. They'll probably figure it out. But the fact that Embiid is the only true center, with all these other international centers who are like 7 foot, 7'2", 7'3", nearly 300 pounds. Not saying that Anthony Davis and Bam can't do it, because they're great defenders. They're defensive player of the year caliber players. But these guys, Bam is like 6'9", 6'8". Anthony Davis is 6'10". And I can see some international centers just bodying these guys for a couple possessions, getting offensive rebounds over them. So I think they could have gotten another center, like maybe Walker Kessler, or maybe like Jared Allen or someone like that. And honestly, the older guys, I see them taking more of like a Larry Bird role from the 92 team. A guy like, just taking a back seat, although Bird was injured. I can see them just taking a back seat to let the younger guys play more of the minutes, showing them like, oh, do this, do that. But the thing is, after that Canada game, seeing Joel Embiid getting fouled out after like not too long, they need to adjust to international basketball, because they're still playing like they think it's the NBA, where they're going to foul bait and they think one little touch is going to be a foul. They need to get used to that international aspect of basketball, because it's not the NBA anymore. These are international players. These are international refs. They're going to play more physical, more gritty basketball. And I think once they get out of that spot, then they're definitely going to just cruise their way. But I will say Canada could possibly sneak their way into a gold medal.
Okay.
I mean, I just can't wait. I really can't wait for Embiid to get a foul. He physically attacks somebody because he's a whiny little child who, whenever anything doesn't go his way, he needs to act like a 4-year-old. I hope Joel Embiid comes after me, because guess what, Joel? I'm not going to bitch to the refs. You can come at me, because I hate Joel Embiid. We all saw what he did during all the playoffs, right? Stuff didn't go his way. And the second he didn't get a call, Mitchell Robinson literally went up for an easy dunk, and he grabbed him back down by the ankles, and he didn't get ejected. That's insanity. I can't wait until he hurts like Nikola Pekovic, and Nikola Pekovic and his mafia. Literally, he's a mafia boss now. It's crazy. Shout out Nikola Pekovic. I hope he gets the entire mafia to go after him after he hurts him. That's it. I hate Joel Embiid. He's the worst. He's not good basketball, and he's a whiny little baby. It's that.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Dravin does not think Joel Embiid should be playing in the Olympics, pretty much.
Why is he playing for the U.S.?
That's true. That's true.
You know, hey, everybody thought he could go play for France at one point. They thought he could go join Wembanyama and Gobert. That would have been crazy. That is definitely a team that I have my eye on, is seeing what France can do. They have a ton of experienced guards.
He could pass the second round for once, so he had to stay in the U.S. Because he's the only player on the U.S. team that hasn't made it past the second round. I've seen the TikToks. It's like all the players on the team, and only one hasn't made it to the conference finals, and it's him.
Well, I mean, it's tough to kind of compare yourself to LeBron James, Steph Curry. I mean,
Derek White, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday. Yeah, if I had an MVP for flopping 15 times a game, yeah, I would be a little bit sad.
You know what's my biggest issue? Guys saying that Joel Embiid doesn't deserve to be on the team because he's from Cameroon, but yet 92 Patrick Ewing and in 96 Hakeem Olajuwon, two international-born players that played for USA. So the consistency doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm just saying he made his choice. I just really dislike him. That's all.
Just
I
really
his choice.
For sure. Well, honestly, I'm on the same page as Jack and Dovensky here. Of this is probably going to be one of those Olympic runs where you see everybody really have to kind of gel together because there's too much star power. That it's like, all right, if one of you tries to take over, it could go really, really bad for you if they're missing shots. And, you know, I could see LeBron sitting comfortably and having like a Draymond Green type game, you know, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, you know, just really, I don't want to say coasting because that's not what he's doing, but he doesn't necessarily have to score 30 a game. I mean, you go back and look at the highlights of LeBron from the 08 Redeem team, that dude was everywhere. He was doing everything. I don't think he's going to have to do that. There's guys on this team.
He's going to take like a player coach type of role.
Basically.
Sure. That's basically what he's going to do.
Facilitator.
He's the oldest guy on the team, and the fact that they believe that he's the best player on the team at almost 40 years old explains why he's the GOAT of basketball, but that could be a different conversation for a different episode.
Oh, but don't worry.
40, almost 40 years old, and everybody on the team, all-stars, former all-stars, agreeing that he is the best player on the team, that says a lot. But yeah, he's gonna definitely take a back seat because he's been wanting to take a back seat for the longest time. So now he's finally able to like just maybe play like a first half and then sit for the second half, or maybe play like a couple minutes in the second half and then just rest for the rest of the game and then like rest his body for the regular season.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, this will be a team effort. It's going to have to be with how loaded the rest of these international teams are. This is probably going to be one of the most competitive, I would say, fields in the Olympics in a long time. If you go back and you watch the 92 Dream Team, they were killing everybody. But that's because the international competition wasn't quite where it is today. You know, the different types of camps and the different ways to get involved at the NBA level was not there in 92. It was not a thing. It did not exist. And now it does. And a lot of these guys are recognizing that, okay, I played at the NBA level. Now it's time to go home and represent my home country in the Olympics and actually help them out. And that is a huge, huge thing that is making the game of basketball better overall. But good little segue into where they lack on the court. We'll make this quick here as we're about done with the first premiere episode of the Putback. Where they lack on the court is definitely going to be kind of what Dovensky said, the translation from guard to big man, having that kind of comfortable medium of both. I think we'll see it happen for them. There will be possessions where they're probably going to get beat down in the paint because Anthony Davis is the only one that can realistically shoot at a high level outside of Joel Embiid down in the paint. So, out of their big men. So,
That also relies on Joel Embiid playing more than 20 minutes a game, and that just
if he doesn't foul out, if he doesn't foul out in the third quarter, Joel Embiid should hypothetically be one of the higher scoring guys because he is a full 3-level threat for them. Hypothetically, he should be. But how about you guys? Just real quick, just final thoughts. Where you think this Team USA team lacks? Dravin, go.
I unfortunately think it's the big men. And I think it's just because so many of the great big men now, and like you said, there so many of them are just international players. The best player in the NBA and the two of the top, I think the three best players in the NBA currently, they're all European. You have, first off, if Yugoslavia was still a country, they'd have the most broken team ever. First off, it'd be Luka and Jokic, and then just everyone else from all those countries. And then also Giannis representing Greece. I mean, stuff like that. But then obviously you lose Jokic, you lose Giannis, and you still have guys like Kat. I think Boncaro is a guy who should have been considered just because his ability to play like power forward. But I think it's going to be big man. But if they figure that out, then I don't see a way they lose. But it's just so great for the game of basketball. Even teams like Germany with Moritz and Franz Wagner and Dennis Schroeder. Australia has Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, the GOAT, Matthew Dellavedova. I've never met a guy who doesn't love Matthew Dellavedova.
Don't sleep on Patty Mills. We know what he can
Patty
do.
Mills, exactly. Kyrie Irving could play for them, I'm pretty sure, because he was born there if he feels like it. I don't think he ever will, though. There's no reason for him to.
I doubt
but
it.
Like, there's so many countries that can actually compete and make it interesting that it's so much better.
Yeah, for sure. Jack, how about you?
Yeah, obviously the weakness is the big man. Well, not the weakness. They just don't have many players that can play there. But realistically, it's only a 40-minute game in FIBA. You're playing 10-minute quarters rather than 12. You don't need a guy to play 30 minutes a game when you've got AD and Joel. You probably don't want them playing together for very long on the court. So if they're both playing like 20 minutes a game, you're honestly cool with that. Well, we're not going to see Joel foul out in 11 minutes again, to be honest.
I hope not.
Yeah,
And then they got banned as well. So I think they're fine. Honestly, it's common to media. Media is going to overreact after one game every time, but I'm sure they'll be fine in that space.
For sure. Dovensky, how about you? Close it out real quick, and then we will end the show.
Yeah, besides centers, maybe their biggest thing could possibly be ego. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but with how Anthony Edwards was reacting to not being the number one option, I think Steve Kerr said something about, Wade was coming off the bench for Kobe, and then Anthony Edwards was like, there ain't no Kobe on this team. So like maybe something like that, maybe like their egos like bashing with each other, that could probably be an issue, but I haven't seen that being an issue in past years. So it probably won't be an issue this year. Maybe it's just like a bit of competitiveness. That's really it. So I still believe Team USA is gonna just go get that gold medal. But this year, it's definitely gonna be the most competitive year in the Olympics for basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of competition, lots of basketball, lots of episodes to come here on the Putback. The premiere is done. The hard part is done. The opening episode where you have to try and knock off the rust and convince people, hey, come back for the next episode. That's behind us, fellas. So thank you, all three of you, for joining this week. I can't wait for our next episode. So make sure you tune into that. We're looking to be on every Friday around this time, about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you can join us, great. If you can't, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and go check out Stadium Rant, man. We got tons of stuff going on here. Lots of written content from all three of these gentlemen that you're looking at right now on the screen. All three of them do that. So go check out their written content. And now you have this show to check out as well. So make sure to do that. And, hey, go buy some merch while you're at it. Go over to stadiumrant.com. Get yourself a hoodie. Get yourself a water bottle. Who knows? We got a drawstring bag, too. If you need it, we got it. Other than that, gentlemen, where can we find you on social media? Dravin, plug away. Where can the people find you?
On Instagram, it's just Dravin.Murray. I'm a public account, and I have my entire series of articles available to view. One of my best ones recently was talking about the exit of the Big Three era in basketball. I highly recommend going and check that one out. Shout out Louis Stewart. Love Louis. He's a G for promoting that. But yeah, Dravin Murdy, Dravin.Murdy, Dravin_Murdy. Pretty much that's all. You'll find me. It's a pretty unique name.
For sure. Jack, how about you? Plug away.
Yeah, same thing. Instagram _Jack_McKinnon. On the Twitter is Kings_Things916. Yeah, that's it.
There you go. And Dovensky, how about you?
Well, I got 2 Instagrams to promote. My personal Instagram, where I do whatever I really want to do. INV_Doughboy. I don't know if it's backwards, but INV_DOBOY. And then my basketball podcast, the And One podcast, And1_podcast. I still don't know if it's backwards, but
No, you're good.
check
You're
it
good.
out. I haven't been uploading on that podcast channel yet because I've been focusing on this one. So, but I definitely am gonna try and go back on that And One podcast eventually. But yeah,
For sure. Well, make sure to go check out all 3 of these gentlemen's content that over at Stadium Rant. Like I said, you can find me at _BOL on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads, wherever. And as always, and forever, go check out stadiumrant.com. And we'll see you next week right here on The Putback. See you later.
Yes, sir.
Adios.